Okay, so the old Duramax picked up another one, and that's my son's truck. He got on a little bit of a smuck up job with it. We're gonna fix it. And not only does it have front end damage, but he ran the power steering pump dry, so we're gonna have to replace the power steering pump on it. It's seized up. Alright, get her off the trailer here. So we're working on getting the front end apart first. So it's probably not so easy to see from this angle, but the whole front end's off right now. We need to take a little break from that, from doing the front, since I got all this space here underneath and I got all this space in the front. We need to replace the power steering pump. So that's what we're going to do now. The very first thing you want to do, take off your negative cable off your battery, because you're going to have to take your alternator off. So I'm going to take the return line off first. You probably want to put a pan underneath, but in this case this pump has been run dry, so I don't think there's anything in there. Okay, I'm just going to get down here with my channel locks and try and inch that thing loose. There it comes. Alright, return line gone. So there's two little 10mm bolts here. That holds this bracket in place. Alright, so now that's off, and have to get down way down here where you see the wires. There's a little tab there that has to be spread apart that holds those wires in place. I think I might have better luck opening it from the bottom. Okay, so I can get it better from the bottom here. You should be able to see that I'm prying that open there, and then these wires, they can get out of the way here, and then I can get at this line, which is from underneath here. So I'm going under the truck right now with a 5/8 line wrench and a regular wrench. So if you look right here, you can see that piece that I bent away to get those wires out, and this is not the original pump on this truck. Normally the line would be at the back of the pump, but this one is right here. Okay, so I got that line loosened off right here with the 5/8 line wrench, and it's coming out by hand now. Now this is a pump off of a Avalanche Z71, and that's why this line is different. But you can see where it's attached right there. Anyway, and you have one lower bolt down here. This whole bracket has to come off. So the next thing is to get the alternator out of the way, and it's just those two bolts right there. I don't even undo the wires back here. I just move it and lay it over top of the engine. I'm just going to pop the alternator out. There it is. And just going to get it out of my way over here. Just make sure the wires aren't getting pulled. It's all good. So now there's 3 more bolts left. I've already got the bottom one out. And this is the last bolt right here. And I just about forgot about that one. Actually, I did forget. Ooh. There we go. Okay, that's definitely the last of it. These wires, they're still hooked in behind here where they're not supposed to be. Okay, so I lifted the pump up a little bit higher. And now I'm able to get those wires out of the way. And out she comes with my light. So this is the reason why you don't run a power steering pump dry. Not a pretty sight. So this is the original one that was on there, and it's also been run dry for too long. So I can't get the pulley out because somebody twisted a bolt off inside where the tool goes, but I'll get it off. Well, hopefully I got enough blade left on here to do this. The blade's done. Cheap, crappy tire stuff.
What?
Oh, broke the disc.
What?
Alright, that other one broke, so I'm going to try and finish it off with this little tiny one. Got a new pulley with the pump, so now we can get at the bolts and use this bracket. I'll meet you back on the workbench. Okay, so the new pump doesn't come with everything that's on here, so some of this stuff has to come off regardless. These are the 3 bolts that hold it onto the bracket, and this bolt is for this little plate that holds all your wires in place. And then if I flip it over, so I've got the 2 nuts off. Yep. And then get the rest of these bolts out. Alright. Bracket is off and free. Okay, so getting the new one out of the box. And this has a huge warning on it here. It says, don't void your warranty. Always flush the system and use the recommended fluid. And then there's a little instruction thing along with the O-rings. And it's supposed to tell you how to flush it in here. So you might want to be careful when you're replacing some of the brackets and stuff on there. What I just noticed was this bolt on the old one, it has a little bit of a bushing right on there. This one, it doesn't. So what happens when you're doing this is this part hits up against the bracket and it doesn't go all the way on the bolt. Well, it does come out rather easily. Alright, so here comes the new one. Bushing. No bushing. So, old one it is. And I don't see any kind of thread sealer or anything on here, so I'm assuming it's going to seal itself. Okay, she is tight. Yeah, that's going to fit on there nicely now. Okay, so it's day 2, and got a little bit late last night. We had to stop. So I'm just going to get these bolts back in here and attach this to the bracket. And now I can tighten everything up. Not sure what the torque is on these, but I'm not going to worry about it today. Just tightening up the rest of the nuts. So I couldn't get it to stay steady enough. Okay, pulley time. So this is the pump that came off of it, and unfortunately it's pretty loose. I should have checked this with the other pump because the pulley isn't so loose on that other one, but I didn't. At least this will kind of give me a rough idea where I'm supposed to be at. I need to measure and see what the gap is in between the bracket and the pulley right here so that I know how far to put the new pulley on. I'm going to try and get the best measurement that I can here. Kind of hard to tell between all the wobble in here, but we're looking at about a ½ inch between the pulley and this bracket, so that's what we're going to aim for when we put the new one on. So we picked up a new pulley because I knew that wasn't going to come off of the old one, and it has installation instructions And it even says here, for video illustrating proper installation technique, please visit dormanproducts.com PS install. Or you can scan that barcode for instructions. So I just compared the size of this pulley with the old one, and the diameter is the same. And that's a press fit. I'm going to need a tool to put that on. So to get this pulley on all the way, you're going to need a puller tool, or in this case an assembly tool. And this is the right fitting that goes into here. And so what you need to do is put these two pieces together. Screw that into there. Turn this back far enough until you can get this to screw into place here. And tighten this up. Make sure it's going on nice and straight. And then you'll need to hold this. And in my case, this is a 7/16 and a 13/16 here. So start tightening this until I get my 1/2 inch clearance in between here that I'm looking for. Alright, it's getting close. I'm going to measure it again. Wow, couldn't have got it more perfect than that. Got my 1/2 inch gap in between here. That's all I can go by. Okay, so just have to loosen this up then. Take the pieces out. And we should be on. Just like that. Got a pulley. Sweet. And just gonna put this idler pulley back on. So I'm right here. So now it's time to get back to the truck and fix that leak in the fitting. Shoot. Okay, so I got the line and the fitting out of the steering box right there. Got it all kind of cleaned up around it, around the holes. And not really sure why, but that O-ring doesn't look too bad, but this fitting was leaking like crazy, so rather than monkeying around with something used, I got a whole new fitting with a new O-ring on it. And I'm just going to dip it in. This is power steering fluid. Just dipped it in just to get the O-ring moistened a little bit. You don't want that to go in dry. Okay, so both of these fittings here are 18 millimeter. This one and the other line that goes on. And I'm going back to the original style pump again, so I have to change lines. And hopefully with this new fitting we will have no leaks this time. Good night. There we go. So I took this line and blew the whole line out with the air hose. Make sure there's no junk collected in there. And this is the original line that was on there, so we need to put this back on since we're going back to the original style pump. And I'm hoping I got this in the right direction. I think it goes forward like this, if I'm not mistaken. And again, that's an 18 mil. There. Let's get that good and tight. So this pump assembly with the bracket, it's ready to go back on. Got my bolts all ready. There's 4 of the longer ones, and then that little shorty from the side. So I've got this center bolt right here holding it in place. I tried putting this other one in first, and I couldn't get this to sit in place properly for this side bolt to go in. Now I know this bracket was a little bit bent. I had a problem with it before. I would have bent it straight if I could have remembered which direction it was bent. So I'm putting this side bolt in first, because it can be a real nightmare if it doesn't line up. So I'm going underneath right now, and you'll probably see this moving a little bit. I'm going to line up that bottom bolt so that all these other ones line up. So what I was doing down there, I was just getting a pry bar on this bracket from underneath and lining up that bottom hole first. It'll just make it a lot easier for the other ones up here to line up. And like I said, that side bracket was bent a little bit, and I didn't remember which direction it was bent, so I didn't even attempt to bend it back. And I just want to tighten them a little bit with the ratchet or by hand, just to make sure that they're in far enough. There we go. And they're in. I've got all the bolts in far enough that I know they're not going to cross thread. So when you're tightening these, just be careful what you're doing, because you're bolting that into aluminum. Okay, so I was just underneath tightening up the bottom one as well, and now we'll have to do the side one over here yet. And this is the side bolt here that I was talking about. Alright, good and tight. Okay, I'm just going to bend this bracket in a little bit. There's not much space in between here and here, so there we go. Just give me a little more room and tuck those wires back in. go. And you just get in behind that bracket there. And be careful with your pulley. If that bends too hard, then don't. There we go. And that'll keep your wires in place again. And just these two little bolts here. And again, this is a 10 mil. And again, here threading into aluminum, so just be careful, not too tight. Okay, that's all looking good. Hopefully our line is going to go into place. It looks like it's going to fit right in there perfect. And then the return line, we'll have to get that back in there again. Easy peasy. So I'm underneath right now, and you can see where that blue plug is right there. I got to get that out. And then that line, it has the green O-ring on it. That's the line that goes on there. Not really going to videotape this because I can't really get a good shot from under here and try and do this with one hand, so I'll get back to you when I get that cap off of there and get the tip of that line cleaned up. I should have put a cap on that, but I didn't, so I gotta clean that up again. Yeah. So I got the cap out of the end, and my line is right there. I got it nice and clean, and I dripped a little bit of oil on that O-ring. And that's a 5/8 wrench that you're gonna need. You'll need a line wrench, and I'll get back to you when I get that on. Okay, I have a little extra hose to work with here, so just gonna cut the ends off. This was my dad's multi-purpose knife. Cuts through a lot of things. Just have to keep it sharp. So I got one clamp already on there. And I'm going to put this clamp on here. And I'm going to slide this part down as far as I can go with it. There's a rubber plug. There we go. That's out. Slide that on there. So I'm just going to do up these clamps, and then once I get done I'll get back to you. Okay, something I forgot to mention was before I put these lines on, I blew them out with the air hose just to make sure that there wasn't any junk in them from maybe from the bad pump before, whatever. So they've been cleaned out. And make sure you use a nice clean funnel and actual power steering fluid. Now I know people use automatic transmission fluid on these things, but on a new pump, do you really want to take that chance? Probably not. Yeah, I think that whole thing will fit in there. And then we'll have to refill it after we turn the wheel back and forth a few times. Alright, that'll work for now. Okay, so if you try to put your alternator back in, it's going to be very tight going back in because it was very tight coming out. And I've just got a brass punch right here. And there's two little bushings here. Just knock them in just a little bit. And then you'll be able to put your alternator back on easy. Sorry. And when your bolt goes in and you tighten these, this bushing will push back in again and tighten up again. Tighten up against the alternator. There, like that. It gives you lots of room to work with in there. bolts back in there. And there we are. So time to put the belt on, and I believe this is the right one right there. It's kind of hard to see, the lettering's all faded, but I'm going to go according to that one. Okay, so just once you get everything on, then make sure that all your pulleys are in the right grooves before you even try and start this thing up. So if you've had one of these cables break and you lost the bolt that belongs in there, this is a little way to get around that. And if you want to know why you do it this way, then watch my video. I'll put a link in the corner of the video so you can see how this is done. Okay, ground cable is back on, and we should be all set for a running test here. So now that the pump is on, we're back to the front end here. Okay, so everything is working. We took it for a little drive and it sounded like something just let loose, and all of a sudden the fluid started going and we had pressure in it. Nothing's leaking and it's all good. So we got one more thing left to do, and that's to check the fluid. And it's not even showing on the dipstick, so looks like we gotta add some. Oh yeah, she's down. Power steering pump is all back together and it's actually working. Got the front end all back together and it looks a lot better than it did. Really surprised how this all fit together. So thanks for watching, and hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit the like on the video.